Greetings, YouTube. The Doctor is in. Dr. Urius Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Dungeons and Dragons and a live stream. And I thought that I wanted to watch some Scott Garibay videos. So you know what? Why not come on live and we can watch some Scott Garibay videos together. We had a big announcement yesterday for Critical Role and Dungeons and Dragons. And that was that they are not going to be using Daggerheart, but they are going to be using Dungeons and Dragons. So I'm interested to see what the Oracle at Garibay, that's what we call him here on this channel, what the Oracle at Garibay from the mean streets of Philadelphia has to say about that Critical Role decision. So let me first make sure that we're live. Oh, got a World of Warcraft. Yep, I think we're live. So we got a World of Warcraft. I got my iPad over here on the side. Got a World of Warcraft advertisement. So let's do some housekeeping stuff here real quick. And then we're going to get into it. And we're going to talk about, we're going to comment on this and react to what Scott has to say. Because I'm always interested to see what Scott has to say. He always has very interesting things to say. About the world, and I'm sure that Orion Akaba is going to pop up in all of this somewhere, because that is Scott's favorite, absolutely favorite topic is Orion Akaba and how Matt Mercer mercilessly kicked him out from Critical Role. So here we go. All right. Okay. All right. I think I got all of my housekeeping stuff done. So let's get back to here. All right. Here we go. We're going to listen together. I'm going to hit the play button, and we're going to see what Scott has to say. All right.
Hi, friends. It's your pal, Scott Garibay. Today we are going to talk about the absolutely massive news from Critical Role.
So you can always figure out where Scott is, because he is going to pass a street sign somewhere, or he's going to pass a very unique place of business, and then you can find that on a map. He is driving around in a suburb south of Philadelphia.
And specifically how it impacts Critical Role lead Matthew Mercer, Orion Akaba.
Ah, there it is. We're in this 14 seconds. 14 seconds it took him to say Orion Akaba. Now, this is the first video out of all of these from yesterday. This was 10 hours ago, which he uploaded it 10 hours ago. This didn't come out 10 hours ago. So, you know, he probably makes videos in his car. He drives around, and then they end up getting loaded. He does. Let's look here at his channel. So if we look at his channel here, and we go to the videos, I mean, if you just look here, I'm going to be looking over at the screen over here. I got a big, over on this side, I've got a big, big giant monitor here. So in the last, let's say 24 hours, he's done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 videos. He does a lot of videos. There's probably like 10 videos a day here. So, and this is, the title of this video is Critical Role lead Matt Mercer, Orion Akaba, of course, and how Daggerheart got breath weaponed by DnD for C4, and when he says C4, he means Campaign 4. So let's keep going.
The most important people involved in all of this, and their announcements for Campaign 4. Okay.
So this is Scott's first video on this. So this is him kind of reacting to their announcement that they're going to use Dungeons and Dragons and that they're not going to use Daggerheart. So let's see what that comes down to.
So, yeah. Okay, I just want to say this real quick. Campaign 4.
Scott's got an interesting hat on today.
It is an absolute lie. This is not Campaign 4. This is... Wait, you know what?
Hold on.
Is it a new world? So, okay, I didn't understand this part, and I could use your having the conversation with you guys rather than giving you my commentary about it. I could use your help on this. Is Aramon a new world? Are we like actually? Character sheet
I
on
haven't heard this
comic.com
part yet.
said, "Oh, they're going to deal with all this stuff they didn't deal with in like, is this connected to Exandria at all? Is Aramon a separate world, right?" And so I think that's kind of an important question to me. And so, okay, if Aramon is not connected to Exandria, this is not campaign 4. This is campaign 1. Okay, I want this to be extremely clear. This campaign 4.
So it's not campaign 1. It is campaign 4. It is the 4th campaign that they have run, but it's not campaign 1. It's probably just a different one. We don't know. We have no idea. I'm interested in that hat he's got on. I'd like to see what's all on that hat. But it is campaign 4, Scott. Let's just get that straight. And I just hit the stop streaming button. I don't know why I just did that. I totally just hit the stop streaming button. Let me redo this. Let's make sure we're live still. Okay. Totally hit the stop. I don't know why I just did that. Okay. Let's continue here.
Poor thing, in my humble opinion, is a lie. Unless Aramon is connected to Exandria. Okay? If it's not, campaign 4 is a lie. However, I'm going to use the term campaign 4. All right. Okay. So that I don't have to keep correcting every time. Right. Good. So I don't like those words coming out of my mouth because I really believe that. I got to make sure to keep the cursor over here on this side. I've got 2 screens. I've got a laptop, and then over here I've got a big curved monitor. So I got to remember to keep the cursor over here. Okay, let's keep going. A lie, but I also want people to understand me, and everybody is referring
Scott a like,
this
by
as
the way.
campaign 4. So just wanted to get there. All right.
And by the way, this video right now has only 54 views. So go over to Scott's channel if you're watching, and hit that, please. That's really important to do that if you're on here. Go over to Scott's channel, watch these videos. He's always got great opinions about a lot of different stuff. You may not agree with all of them, but in the end, Scott is almost always right. Huge campaign 4 announcements. So let's talk about what they announced. They announced 3 things: how, what, and who. Okay? So how are they going to run this? Are they going to run it with Daggerheart, or are they going to run it with Dungeons and Dragons? Daggerheart, Shank, you are done, son. Shank, you are done, son. So I think that's what he means by Daggerheart got breath weaponed. And, in the larger kind of fan base, I'm not going to use the word community. I think community is the dumbest word. I live in a neighborhood community. That's where my community is. It's a physical place where people live. The Dungeons and Dragons is not a community. It's a fan base. So let's just keep it at that. We're all fans of it. It is our hobby. So within the space of the hobby, I think, and a lot of others think, that this is just going to kill Daggerheart. That they're not going to use Daggerheart. I agree. I think Daggerheart was losing steam already anyway, but I think this is really going to put the nail in the coffin. Okay, let's continue. Next! Let's go back. Finished! How, what, and who? Scott's euphemisms and his sayings and how he does stuff are always very important. He's got a lot of dog hair on his shirt there. I can see it. So how are they going to run this? Are they going to run it with Daggerheart, or are they going to run it with Dungeons and Dragons? Daggerheart, Shank! You are done, son! Next! You finished, right? Daggerheart is nothing! Daggerheart is nothing! Daggerheart is nothing! Oh, Daggerheart is nothing. Okay, well, I think we got that out. I think that is definitely we got your delivery and your divination right there. Daggerheart cooked. If you ain't gonna use your system, who the heck will? You're finished. Daggerheart cooked. Done. Shank. Okay? Done. Dungeons and Dragons wins.
breath weapon, Daggerheart.
That's awesome.
Ash. Finished. Okay? Not even Critical Role will use Daggerheart right now.
Wow.
And the reason why is they done stepped.
Now, you guys have heard my theory on this. And, you know, of course, my theory is that, well, I think that, I personally think that Hasbro pulled the truck up, and I think they dumped a bunch of cash onto the driveway of Matt Mercer. I really do. I think that's what happened. And I've thought about this a little bit more, and I have come to that conclusion even stronger than before. And here is part of the evidence that I'm given for that. They have all these new people that are going to be on the show. None of those people are part of Daggerheart. Brendan Lee Mulligan, he is not in the corporate structure of Daggerheart. What is her name? The other ones, I can't remember what her name was. She's done a bunch of stuff. Arya Iyengar, I think is her name. And I think she's under contract with WotC and Hasbro, because she's done a bunch of stuff for Wizards of the Coast website, run a bunch of games and stuff. And I think a couple of them are probably under contract with Hasbro right now and Wizards of the Coast. And I think Wizards of the Coast rolled up and they came in and they said, we'll pay for these people, because there's like 7 new people. And that's expensive. That is going to be, I'm going to guess, at the end of the day, with their contracts and everything negotiated in there, because they're not employees, they're contractors. And none of them are members of the Critical Role Corporation. None of them, I think Critical Role is an LLC. And so they have board members, and none of them are board members of the Critical Role LLC. So they're all contract employees, and they're going to be expensive. My guess is those 7 people are going to cost at least $1 million a year. And they're signing multiple year deals with these people. And I'm going to guess some of them are already under contract with Wizards of the Coast, and that Wizards of the Coast walked in and said, we'll pay for those people. And we'll give you cash in the form of a sponsorship. And all you have to do is play our game and mention it. That's it. Oh, I got another advertisement here. And that's what it is. Critical Role people make a lot of money. Yep, absolutely. They make they're millionaires. That's my guess. But that's a big expense. The largest expense any business has, and they are a business. At the end of the day, we have to remember that they are a business. The largest expense a business has at the end of the day is labor and their employees. And those actors are not cheap. They're going to cost quite a bit. And I think they couldn't pass it up. Travis Willingham is the CEO. I bet the business decision was made by him, in conjunction with the other members of the Critical Role Corporation. And they made the decision they couldn't pass up that money. WotC and Hasbro are looking for a way to make 2024 Dungeons and Dragons more popular. And what a better way to do it than to have 1 million people a week see your game and play every Thursday. Okay, let's get back to the video.
To the king, right? You come at the king, you best not miss.
All right,
they missed.
Let's go back.
Daggerheart.
Let's go back.
Done. Okay?
Breath weapon.
Dungeons and Dragons wins.
Here it comes.
Breath weapon. Daggerheart.
That's awesome.
Finished. Okay? Not even Critical Role will use Daggerheart right now. And the reason why is they done stepped to the king, right?
The king.
You come at the king, you best not miss. They missed. Daggerheart sucks compared to D&D. Doesn't suck, only compared to D&D. Daggerheart cooked, finished, right? The discussion of Daggerheart.
Okay, so I'm gonna show that, because that is a truth. That is a truth. So what Scott is saying is absolutely true. And here's how we're going to show it. Here it is right here. Google Trends. Let's go to Google Trends. Here it is. And we are going to put Daggerheart in. And we've got game, so let's do the game. All right, so here is... So this is the web search here. Categories, past date. Let's do past 12 months. You can see it's gone up and gone down for the United States. Let's do not 12 months. Let's do from... Well, that's not the past 12. Let's do 90 days. Let's do 90 days. Okay. Past 90 days. Okay, so you can see there, these numbers don't mean anything. They're a reflection of, it's a semi-quantitative value. What we mean by that is you have to compare one number to another to see the quantification that's there. And the quantification here is on, what date is this? On August 3rd, Daggerheart hit its maximum search traffic, and it went from on July 31st of a 0 to on August 3rd a 100. And that was probably because the game was coming out. Now, if we look at worldwide, it's going to be essentially the same, and it is. So let's go back. Let's keep it at worldwide. And it is peaking out again on August 23rd. Why? Because we had this announcement yesterday. So August 20th, it was down to a 44 compared to August 3rd where it was at 100. Now, let's compare it to Dungeons and Dragons. And we're going to compare it to the game. And look at that. Nothing. No comparison whatsoever at all. So if you compare, let's go to August 3rd. August 3rd, right there. That was the peak of Daggerheart, which when you compare it to Dungeons and Dragons for searches, Dungeons and Dragons was a 74 and Daggerheart was a 3. So that is my premise. And that is one of the pieces of evidence that I used to show that Scott Garibay, the Oracle at Garibay, is absolutely correct in what he says. Totally correct, absolutely, that all of these games are nothing compared to Dungeons and Dragons. All right, let's keep going.
As a D&D killer is officially over. It is done. It is
let's go back a little bit. Let's go back a little bit.
Only compared to D&D. Daggerheart, cooked, finished.
Cooked. And right? It was cooked from the
discussion of Daggerheart as a D&D killer is officially over. It is done. It is completely done. Okay?
And let me say this about all of that. That also shows Dungeons and Dragons compared to other games in the space and the competition. So that's how far a game has to go to outcompete Dungeons and Dragons, the brand itself. That's how far it's got to go. That's, you can use searches on the internet as a proxy for how popular something is compared to something else. And that's how far, and Daggerheart has sold out 3 print runs, and that's how far it's got to go to get to where Dungeons and Dragons is. And Shadow Dark is even less. And I love Shadow Dark. Don't get me wrong. I think Shadow Dark is a game. I'm not going to say it's a better game. It is a different kind of game than Dungeons and Dragons. It's very similar, but it does different things. Okay, let's get back to Scott.
It will never compete.
Never.
Actually against
totally
Dungeons
right.
and Dragons.
Absolutely right.
What it is going to be is it's going to be Dungeons and Dragons Pepsi, and it is definitely, in my humble opinion, you heard this here first, Daggerheart will supplant Pathfinder.
Wait a minute, did he just say Pepsi?
It will never compete actually against Dungeons and Dragons, right? What it is going to be is it's going to be Dungeons and Dragons Pepsi, and it is.
He did say Pepsi, and I think what he meant was New Pepsi. And I think really what he meant was new Coke. Or maybe Pepsi compared to Coke. He's making a comparison. It's not a great comparison, Scott, but it is what it is. Let's look over here. I just want to see if anybody's on. And it is what it is. But I get it. It's like the new Coke.
Is definitely.
If some of you remember new Coke and classic Coke.
In my humble opinion, you heard this here first. Daggerheart will supplant Pathfinder as the number 2 TTRPG.
Oh, wow. That is definitely a divination from the Oracle at Garibay. You guys heard it first out of the mouth of J. Scott Garibay. Daggerheart is going to overtake Pathfinder because Pathfinder is number 2. So regardless of what you think, it's Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, Starfinder, and then Daggerheart is pretty far down. Okay, all right. Do we have that? Let me see if I've got that comparison here. Yeah, let's do that comparison. All right, so we're going to delete this one out. And so here's just Dungeons and Dragons by itself, and you can see that it ebb and flows like every couple of weeks. So let's go Pathfinder role-playing game. Okay, there it is right there. So let's hit that, and there it is right there. So Pathfinder, I don't know why these things go in these cycles, but you could see they go in these cycles. So this is the 10th. That's the 3rd. So every week seems like there's a peak. But the peaks are 81 and 11, 78 and 11, 75 and 10, 74 and 9. Now let's add in Daggerheart to that. Search. Oh, we can't do... Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to the home page, and we'll do Daggerheart first. Daggerheart, the game. Okay. And we'll do the last 90 days. And then we'll do Pathfinder, the role-playing game. Yeah, look at that. Okay, that is an even better comparison. So Pathfinder, the role-playing game, that search term is August 3rd for Daggerheart was a 31 and Pathfinder was a 94. So 3 times as searched as Daggerheart. Now let's put Dungeons and Dragons in that, and you're going to see then Dungeons and Dragons, the game, and you're going to see, there it is. Yellow is Dungeons and Dragons, red is Pathfinder, and Daggerheart is in blue. So 1, 2, 3. There it is right there. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So let's get back to the video here. And he is right, and he thinks so according to Google Trends, Daggerheart's got a ways to go. It's got a ways to go. So let's see what he has to say.
That will happen.
Okay.
Okay. All right. But Daggerheart done. Right. So let's just look
done.
Now, man, there's so much here. There's so much here. Okay. I'm just like everybody else. I'm extremely excited about this new. Does Daggerheart getting roasted? Daggerheart, you finished. What's next, man? Like this wow. I was about to say a roundhouse, but I watch UFC. This was a spinning back.
Oh, that says so much about. I am like one of the world's biggest UFC fans. Huge UFC fan. Scott's even higher in my book now. He went up like 10 notches because he likes UFC. Wow, okay. He has become even more the Oracle of Garibay now. That is amazing. So things that he said now have to be more true than they were before.
Oh, to the face, right? Daggerheart, done. Daggerheart, done. Right? And we need to take a minute to talk about this because people like the moment critical. Oh, hey Scott. Critical Role's gonna put out they're gonna put out their new game, and you could trust and believe everybody's pissed off with Hasbro. Dungeons and Dragons will fall over like a tin cup. Oh, I can trust. Oh, yeah, it's gonna happen. D&D, Critical Role's gonna make a D&D killer. They did not. Y'all's a bunch of laughable fools. Dungeons and Dragons, done, roasted.
All right. So I think I know where he is right now. So let's go back.
Take a minute to talk about this, because
so if you pay attention
like the
to
moment Critical,
right?
Hey Scott, Critical Role's gonna put out they're gonna put out their new game, and you could trust and believe everybody's pissed off with Hasbro. Dungeons and Dragons will fall over like a tin cup. Oh, I can trust. Oh yeah, it's gonna happen. D&D, Critical Role's gonna make a D&D killer. They did not. Y'all,
they did not. You're right.
Fools. Dungeons and Dragons.
There it is. What is that? Some dentistry place? You could probably look that up and you could find out where it is. So you can tell where Scott's driving right now. There's a phone number right there for the dental place.
Done, roasted.
Yeah, there's a mall.
Roast.
It's the, what is that? The Avenue Mall, and we've got the Salon Abel and Brookhaven Vision Store. So he's in Brookhaven right now, which is a suburb of Philly.
You come for the king, you best not miss.
Best not miss.
They missed.
That's right.
Right?
They missed.
And why?
Scott needs a Kleenex.
We do need to talk about this. Why did Daggerheart fail as a D&D killer, right? I'll tell you right now, Spencer Stark did not fail. That thing came out of the gate hot. I read that thing. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a D&D.
But it was so far from Dungeons and Dragons. So Professor DM, and I put this out in my video the other day. Professor DM put this video out looking at the events at Gen Con. And there were 77 to 80 Daggerheart events. And there were 1,300 plus Dungeons and Dragons events. So, I mean, there's no comparison. Zero. I don't know why anybody even tried to compare this. There is no competitor with Dungeons and Dragons. Pathfinder is not even close. I think the Pathfinder revenue per year is like less than $10 million. That it's not even, it's like, they're like not even a tenth of the size of the Dungeons and Dragons division at Wizards of the Coast, let alone Wizards of the Coast when you add in Magic the Gathering and things like that, and then Hasbro on top of that. I think Paizo has maybe 20 or 30 employees, and that's it. Yeah, they're not even close. Not even close.
Killer. And it was. Spencer Stark delivered a D&D killer. Thank God for D&D.
I completely disagree. I think Spencer Stark is a horrible game designer. I don't like the meta currencies in it. I don't like some of the more squishier stuff that's in that game. Candela Obscura, also made by Spencer Stark, was a terrible game and nobody bought it. So I completely disagree with that. I do disagree with Scott from time to time, and this is one of those times. Not a great divination from the Oracle at Garibay here.
Nobody on Critical Role is ever going to work hard on D&D. They might work hard at their actual jobs, which is voice actor, right? But they ain't never going to work hard at D&D. If Travis Willingham had been a real CEO and made real CEO decisions, right, instead of practicing his grog voice another hour, D&D could have been in trouble. For realsies, could have been really in trouble.
Well, I think he meant no one's going to do work on Daggerheart. I think that's what he meant. It is. I've watched a lot of Critical Role, and it's obvious to me that from week to week, I've watched all of Campaign 1 and almost all of Campaign 2, and I think I'm up to almost episode 100 of Campaign 2. And I watched, I think, like the first 30 episodes of Campaign 3. I stopped watching Campaign 3 to go back and watch all the rest of them, so I'm doing Campaign 2 all in order. But it's obvious to me that they don't spend a lot of time with this game between Thursdays. So from Thursday to Thursday, they play on Thursday night. They go home. They may say something. If something is hot happening in the game, they may talk about it. Usually, I don't think they do. They show up the next Thursday. They pull out their iPads. They pull out their characters and their dice, and they just go. Because it's obvious to me that most of them don't. They've been playing for years, but they just don't understand the rules. And that is an obvious fact if you watch it.
So that is the reason.
Matt is pretty much the only one that knows the rules well, and he still has to look up rules from time to time. Even though, by the time you have gotten to episode 99 of campaign 2, that's 2020. So it's March 13th, 2020. Everything in the United States is getting ready to shut down because of COVID. They did say something about COVID at the very beginning of the video, and they had been playing since late 2015, Dungeons and Dragons. They were playing Pathfinder before that. But they had been playing for 5 years, once a week for 5 years, and they still don't know the rules very well. Especially like Taliesin Jaffe is terrible with the rules. And Matt still has to look things up. So, I run a lot, and I still have to look things up too, but not as much as Matt does.
Every single critical role, everything critical role does is a one-cheeked attempt. Like, it's just a one-cheeked attempt. It's
a what?
It's half $, $. You understand?
Hold on.
Everything critical role does is a one-cheeked attempt. Like, it's just a one-cheeked attempt. It's half $, $. You understand? Right? They've never taken D&D seriously.
Yeah.
Like, they have a global corporation with multiple SKUs, and not a one of them ever quit their day job. It's been a side hustle from the gate, right? And I thought I was going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff in this video.
I don't think Matt Mercer is doing voice acting anymore, to be honest. I don't think I think some of them have given up their side gig. They do things from now on out, but they've got a multifunctional LLC. They do all kinds of different stuff. Advertising, the game, their books, merchandise, live shows, appearances, all that stuff. So I think all of it is tied back to Critical Role for them. But as far as the rules go, they still don't understand the rules.
All we talk about right now is just the Dungeons and Dragons Daggerheart. Daggerheart.
I will say the player that understands, I think, the most about the rules in the game is Liam O'Brien. He's probably the one that understands the most. But right under Matt Mercer.
You cooked, you done, son. You roasted. It's ash.
Roasted.
Okay? The best comment I saw on Daggerheart was they were like, they got to use Daggerheart for their next campaign. If they won't use it, who will? And that's the kicker. That's the kicker, right? They bended the knee, man. They just told everybody, hey, trust and believe.
That's the thing. He just said it right there. They bent the knee. They bent the knee to Hasbro because I'm sure Hasbro wrote a big fat check. They're paying for something. It'll never come out. They will never admit that. But if you were betting in Vegas and you were looking at the odds, I would say the odds are in favor of Hasbro writing a big check.
D&D is better than Daggerheart. They just told the whole world that, right? Because when it came to the campaign that everybody wanted to watch,
and I think they're telling the world what Hasbro paid them to tell.
They're like, oh no, of course not. We're not going to use that brand new scrub game that Spencer Stark wrote. Absolutely not. We want to be millionaires, and nobody here want to be a hundredaire, right?
And keep in mind, Spencer Stark is an employee. He is not a member of the LLC of Critical Role. He is an employee. So he is not part of it. He got paid to write something and he's done. That's it. They probably contracted him. He's not even an employee. He's probably got a contract and that's it. They contracted him to do X and Y. X was Candela Obscura. That was done. Y was mostly Daggerheart with, some input from Matt Mercer. Done. And Matt Mercer gets to put his name all over it.
That's it. Does that help Orion?
Oh, there's the Wawa.
Absolutely, right? Because here's the kicker, right? If Daggerheart had become a D&D killer, Orion Akaba's name would have slid back, right? It would have been...
Here we go. Orion Akaba. He's been lobbying for Orion Akaba to be brought back for a year, at least, probably 2 years. And he really did this big campaign of trying to get Orion Akaba back onto Campaign 4 before they announced it. He knew Campaign 4 was going to be announced, and he started this right when Campaign 3 was wrapping up.
Been less famous, right? But Orion Akaba's fortunes are now permanently tied to Critical Role and, much more importantly, Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Critical Role is important to the momentum of Dungeons and Dragons. If they had actually been able to make Daggerheart work, that would have been trouble for D&D, and it would have helped it would have helped in something I don't want to see, but it would have helped for Orion Akaba's name to actually disappear, right? His name ain't going to go nowhere, right?
He is enshrined in the annals of Dungeons and Dragons.
Like, in fact, when as this happens, as Critical Role grows, Orion Akaba grows, because new critters come in, right? New people come in, they watch. When you start Critical Role, you start at Orion Akaba.
It's true. Yep. First 27 episodes, you got to start with Orion Akaba. You've got to start there. And, I actually would want to see him come back just to see it. I don't think that's ever going to happen. They cut that. Matt Mercer and company cut that off. I don't think that's going to happen. So, You
start with a dude with wearing a flamethrower to the game. That's D&D now. That's where we're at. Daggerheart, you roasted. You done, son. Ash. Breath weapon. Daggerheart, just ash. Man. Like, this is where we're at. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing and have a fetch millennium.
Have a fetch millennium. Okay, that is the first video for today, and it is the first video that we have of Scott's channel for that day. Now, that is the first one that he put out. That was a response to what happened. So here is the next one, and this is 9 hours, and this is about Professor DM. Now, I want to see if he says anything in here. This is like 2 hours later.
Hi, friends. This is your pal, Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Professor Dungeon Master's list of top 20 most popular TTRPGs.
I don't think he's going to say anything. And he's talking about the list that Professor Dungeon Master made. And so, it's raining now. Look at that. And what is this place we got here? What Croc? Okay, that's some restaurant. So, Professor Dungeon Master went through the catalog at Gen Con. So if you go to the Gen Con website, you can go to their catalog, and you can see how many different events there were per game. So you can look up a game, like I can type in Dungeons and Dragons, and it'll tell me how many tables there were for Dungeons and Dragons. I can look up Pathfinder, and it'll tell me how many tables there were for Pathfinder. Pathfinder 1, Pathfinder 2. I can go to Daggerheart, and I can do the same thing. So he went through and looked for the top 20 games, and I think Scott's going through these. This is rank 19, and it looks like it's Blade Runner. I don't think he's going to say anything about Critical Role in this, but
number 19 is Free League.
Free League.
Blade Runner.
By the way, Free League, great company. I like their, I think they do the One Ring game, which also has a 5th edition one. Awesome game. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out.
With 24 events run at Gen Con.
24. That's what Professor DM did, and Daggerheart had 77 to 80 events. I say 77 and 80 because Professor DM said there was 80, and then if you go on the website, it says 77. So there's a little bit of a difference on what he was looking at. They may have like taken some off between then and when he did it, but this one had 24. And in comparison, Dungeons and Dragons had over 1,300 events. And also in comparison, Pathfinder had over 500. I think it was actually more than that. It was about a third of what Dungeons and Dragons was. And then number 3 was Starfinder with, I think, 200 or 300 events.
It won the number 19 slot, right? Very, very interesting. Okay, so what's my experience with Free Leagues, Blade Runner. I've followed.
Okay, we're gonna go to a different video because he is not. I don't think he's gonna talk about the Critical Role stuff, and I'm interested in hearing about the Critical Role stuff. This is where he's going to talk.
Hi,
about
friends. This is your pal Scott Garibay, and today
now.
we're going to talk about Critical Role lead Matthew Mercer, Dragon Master.
And this is
Orion
8 hours
Akaba,
ago. This is an 8 hours
and
ago. It's
the
still
absolutely massive announcements.
So he must have been driving all day long. Wow.
The Araman, Brennan Lee Mulligan campaign. We talked, and the announcements was really three things. It was how D&D.
Yep.
Okay? It was what, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video.
Okay.
What?
I
what
see how Scott's breaking this down. So that first video we watched, he talked about how are they going to run campaign 4? That's Dungeons and Dragons, and not Daggerheart. So he went into all that and went into why. I didn't agree with everything Scott had to say, but mostly. Now we're going to talk about the what. What is going to be in this campaign? Now he did bring this up a little bit. And the what was, what world? Is it going to be Exandria? He is mentioning it. The title of this video is Critical Role Campaign 4 Ahriman, Brendan Lee Mulligan, Matt Mercer, and of course, Orion Akaba drama. So we can't have a video about Dungeons & Dragons or Critical Role now without mentioning Orion Akaba. That has to get mentioned. So we are at 29 seconds. He has not said anything about Orion Akaba yet. He said Orion Akaba 14 seconds into the last video. So let's see what he says.
Happen in campaign.
Let's give him a like, too, by the way.
All right. So what is going to happen is West Marches. Oh, my gosh. West Marches is having a moment.
So if you don't know what West Marches is, a West March game is a style of play in a role-playing game where you have, it's kind of like a pickup game, but you have a bunch of players, and when I say a bunch of players, like I normally sit down and I'll play with a group of 5 or 6. I like 5. I will play with 6. 7 is doable. I don't go past that. And you might have 3, 4, 5 different groups of 5. And each group starts in a different area. So you might play once a week, and you'll have a rotation of 5 different groups over 5 weeks, and they're all in different places in the world, or they're all doing different things in the world, but it's one world. And they could interact with each other. So you could like schedule a game where you have 10 of those people show up, and they may have to fight each other, they may have to interact with each other, whatever. So it's almost Bronstein like, almost, okay, or Bronstein, however you want to say it.
I don't know if you guys know it, but like literally Shadow Dark's last like Kickstarter was like making West March type games accessible for
it's not West Marches, but it's Western Reaches, and it's Kelsey Dion's world. So, he's going by the Ross. I've seen that in these videos before, so he is driving around the same place. So, it's Western Reaches, and it's just her world. She's just taken the zines that have different parts of the world, and she's putting that together in a big, like, campaign setting. That's it. That's all it is.
For Shadow Dark. West Marches is a Dungeons and Dragons invented style of campaigning.
That is true. He is correct, absolutely correct about that. And that is what Brendan Lee Mulligan announced. But, he doesn't do anything without Matt Mercer's okay. He is a contractor that works under contract with Critical Role LLC. So he doesn't do anything that they don't okay.
And Brendan Lee Mulligan is...
But I'm going to guess they're doing this because if you go on like Roll20, there's a bunch of Western Marches games on Roll20. There's tons of them. There's if you just go on there and you type in Western Marches, you'll find all kinds. So it's a very popular. Let's look at that. That is something we can look at. Let's do that one. Okay. So let's go back to Google Trends. John Bolton is still the number 1. Western Marches. Let's see the popularity. Oh, it didn't like that one. How about West March? Remove. West March. Let's see if that... Okay, and let's go past 7 days. So it's kind of all over the place. Past 30 days. Okay. Let's add West Marches. Ah, look at that. There it is. That's the term we're looking for. No one was searching that on August 20th. And on August 21st, which was yesterday, everybody started searching that. And it peaked out today on the 22nd. Isn't that amazing how that works? No one was talking about it on the 20th because no one said anything about it. And all of a sudden, that term went way up. Now, let's compare that to Dungeons and Dragons, the game. And, okay, look at that. It's still, yesterday it's a 2. Dungeons & Dragons is a 70. And then it's a 2 and a 69. All right, let's get rid of that. And let's compare it to Pathfinder. Pathfinder tabletop game. Look at that. Look at that. 56 to 12. And then today is a 58 to 15. Okay, now let's compare it to Daggerheart. Daggerheart. And look at that. Amazingly, it is almost even with Daggerheart now for searches. Look at that, 53 to 56. Amazing. That is amazing. Okay. So let's continue with Scott.
Bringing it forward. And I have to, hey, I tell you when I'm right. Boy, do I tell you when I'm right. Boy, do I tell you when I'm right. Right? Right. I tell you when I'm right. I try to be transparent as much as I can, even though it is brutally, savagely punished by Americans. I try to be transparent, even,
he is not savage by Americans.
Brutal punishment is part of the milieu. We watch Jesus get killed for speaking openly and transparently. So I try to take my lumps too. I'm going to be transparent. I was wrong about Brendan Lee Mulligan. I talked a lot of smack about him and said this guy is useless, but he did something that is going to be incredibly useful to Orion Akaba, and I think he did it for Orion.
Here we go. There it is. 1 minute and 53 seconds in, the first mention of Orion Akaba. Okay, so we got Orion Akaba, and somehow that's connected to Brandon Lee Mulligan. I don't know the guy. I haven't really watched him DM. He's done some questionable shows on his Dimension 20 that I could care less about. So let's keep listening to Scott.
Akaba. And what is that? It's this West Marches idea. This is a brilliant idea. So what did Brendan Lee Mulligan do for Orion Akaba? Well, he made 3 tables they could bring him in on.
But by the way, Brandon Lee Mulligan and Matt Mercer never mentioned Orion Akaba. I know where Scott's going with this. They're going to make 3 different tables of players, five players each, and they're talking about he's going to say, well, they can bring. There's 3 different chances they could bring Orion Akaba in now, which they're not going to do. But okay, so let's go back a little bit here.
For Orion Akaba. Well, he made 3 tables they could bring him in on at any episode, right? So I really believe that Orion Akaba should be returned to the Critical Role table on October 2nd, 2025 for episode 1 of Campaign 4 Aramon, right? I think that's the right time, the just time, because it's 10 years overdue. It should not have to wait any longer. But Brendan Lee Mulligan specifically brought in West Marches so that anyone, and I believe specifically Orion Akaba, can
okay,
be brought in at any time, at any episode. And
they're only bringing in people that they've actually contracted. So they've got contract employees. Well, they're contractors. All of these guys that are being brought in, they're under contract with Critical Role LLC. So They would have to sign a contract with Orion Akaba for that to happen.
And it is my humble opinion that Brennan Lee Mulligan did this secretly and did not announce it to anyone. So that it took the pressure off of episode 1.
He did nothing secret. There's nothing secret about any of this. Everything had to be okayed by Matt Mercer and company.
To bring Orion back, and they can bring
and I think that they are picking a West Marches style campaign because it's popular in amongst the fan base. That's the only reason. They're running Dungeons and Dragons, and there are a lot of people on Roll20, which is the most popular virtual tabletop that are running West Marches campaigns. That's the most popular style of Dungeons and Dragons game.
Him back in literally any of the 3 tables that are going to be happening: soldier table, seeker table, and it lines up with the 3 pillars of combat: soldier, seeker, and there's another one.
I think it's like sneak or something.
Sorry, there's an interaction table, there's a combat table, and there is
we'll have to go back and watch
an exploration table. Exploration is seeker.
No, exploration and seeker are the same thing.
Combat. And
the seekers are explorers.
Interaction one is like a spy one. It's the skulker, the skeleton. I know one of you is screaming at the screen, right? Just give me a tweet below. And I'll know it. I already have it in my notes.
See if anybody.
So there's 3 tables that he can bring Orion back.
Nope.
Which I think is
Nobody
oh my
said
gosh,
anything.
Is that exciting? That is so exciting, right? And so what really is exciting is that we've reached this point where Orion Akaba can be brought in on any of the. And why?
But
why
they're not
did
going to
Brennan
bring
Lee
him in.
Mulligan do that? Why did he make sure that there would be 3 different tables to bring him back in on, and there would be a logical structure?
This is where Scott gets into his kind of prophesizing. He's really going to do something profound. He wants Orion Akaba so badly to be at these tables.
To bring him in on any episode, right? I think the reason why is once you attach yourself, once you are aware of or are a Critical Role co-founder, you know that nothing Critical Role has ever done succeeds without Orion. That's why they wrote him into Daggerheart. That's why Vox Machina is
They did, right? I don't remember that.
better than Mighty Nine. That's why Mighty Nine is better than Bell's Hells. The farther you get away from Orion, the more your stuff on Critical Role sucks, right? And so
that's a pretty profound statement, and I do have to agree with that. The first campaign was the best, and the third campaign was not as good as the first campaign. So I do agree with that.
I think Brennan Lee Mulligan knows that at some point he's going to need to bring Orion back in.
He's got to bring him back. We need to get that petition going to get Orion Akaba back in.
Because I do think there's going to be some troubles. I think there's going to be some troubles. I think this was brilliant for Brennan Lee. And I'm extremely unimpressed with Brennan Lee Mulligan. Now, when I say that...
It's brilliant, but I'm extremely unimpressed.
It's because this is the #1 slot in the world. Like, Brennan Lee Mulligan is not a garbage... dungeon master, right? He is just not one of the best in the world. And he's replacing literally one of the top 3 best in the world, right?
So Scott has an opinion on who the top 3 dungeon masters are. Gary Gygax is #1. I believe he's got Dave Arneson as #2. And then he's got Matt Mercer as #3.
And so, and those best dungeon masters in the world are B. Dave Walters.
I'm looking down at my
Matthew Mercer
iPad every once in a while to see how many people are on and how many people are streaming. And we got 3 people watching right now. Hey, hit that like button out there if you haven't hit that like button.
And then I would say Deborah Ann Wohl is #3.
Deborah Ann
Wohl. So Brendan
Who?
doesn't even, he's not podium level. He's just not podium level.
What?
But I have to admit, this West Marches thing, this was brilliant. This was a brilliant way to make sure that there was an on-ramp for Orion Akaba.
Where is
every
he
top
at?
possible
He's
time.
like parked somewhere.
Now,
in a parking lot.
why did he do this? I think there's a very real reason why he did this. And I think he knows that this is the skeleton in the closet of Critical Role, and I don't think
it is a skeleton in the closet of Critical Role. I mean, we all want to know why he was there. He's one of the original people. I mean, if you go back to these earlier videos, he's in the apartment with all the other ones, with Liam O'Brien and Taliesin Jaffe and Sam Riegel and Travis Cunningham and Laura Bailey and Marisha Ray. He's there, and Ashley Johnson. He's there with all of them. So he was in the pre-campaign in Matt Mercer's kitchen. And then 27 episodes in, he's gone. And I think part of that was a business decision. And I think part of that was personal decision. I think it was kind of 50-50. So just my opinion.
Critical Role clearly doesn't know that they're being written into history right now. I don't think they have any clue of it. They don't take this seriously. But I think Brennan Lee Mulligan is a smart guy who thinks beyond the table, right? He thinks about, D&D and, mastering the dungeon and beyond. That's what Gary said, right? And I think Brennan Lee Mulligan has mastered the dungeon, and he's thinking beyond. And I think he knows. And I don't think anybody can have this conversation right now with Matthew Mercer or any of the co-founders. And the reason why is this is their telltale heart. Like, this is the body sitting under the floors that's going thump, 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 and they can all hear it, right? And I think they know that, they've used every single Critical Role co-founder knows that he is a Critical Role co-founder too, who's uncredited, right?
He is. I mean, he's in the first 27 episodes, and he's there in the credits. He's one of the characters. He's on my thumbnail. That is, that picture of him, Orion Akaba, is from the beginnings of, the role scene at the beginning of the show.
Right? And who has been shoved in a closet, right?
He wasn't shoved in the closet,
but they keep using his work, right? Like, we know what it looks like when people are like, oh, Critical Role moved past Orion. No, they did not. They printed his work this year. Like, they just ordered reprints of literally Tiberius. There are books coming off the print line. There are books that will get sold off of Barnes and Noble shelves that have his name. D&D canon source books that say Orion Akaba. Right? Like here's Tiberius Stormwind, or Mercer wrote him in. Right?
I have to go back and find that. I'll have to go back into. I've got the Tal'Dorei book, and I'll have to see if Tiberius is in that book. He should be. We'll have to see. That was a good book. That the Explorer's Guide to Wildemount and the Tal'Dorei book, those were good books. The campaign books, those are good books.
The other thing is, when you move past somebody, you don't keep using their stuff, right? And how do we know that? Because Critical Role has a creator that they move past. You will not find their work posted on any of their sites, right? You won't find them ordering reprints from Dark Horse of that person's work, right? So we know what it looks like when Critical Role moves past. Critical Role has not moved past Orion. They use his work every single day. And I think Brennan knows this, and
I think Scott's trying to say that the creation of the character, Tiberius Stormwind, counts as intellectual property, and that character has shown up a little bit. I mean, not very much. They have almost wiped it out. Almost.
He knows he can't openly discuss this with Matthew, right? But as this rolls out, I think Brennan Lee Mulligan is the new path to get Orion to the table. And I think,
wow, it's the conspiracy. It's the conspiracy here. This is the Oracle at Garibay giving us his prophecy that Brennan Lee Mulligan, the reason he picked West Marches was to increase the chances of getting to get Orion Akaba into the game.
I think West Marches was specifically put in.
So if Orion Akaba shows up on October 2nd, 2025, everybody's got to give Scott credit. Absolutely, the Oracle at Garibay has to get absolute credit for that.
By Brennan Lee Mulligan to give a path on 3 different tables at every single episode to logically, smoothly transition Orion in, which is brilliant. And so I'm very excited about this. So from that perspective,
I think Scott's going to be disappointed though, but it is what it is.
I'm very excited about this. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing and have a fetch millennial.
All right. Fetch millennial. There we go. 2 videos from Scott Garibay in one day. Well, he did a bunch in one day, but 2 about Critical Role. There's more on here, which we're not going to go through. He did do, how many did he do here? Let's see. He had one more. We have the 7 levels of TTRPGs, if he's got more, and then he gave us some of his view on American politics. So maybe we'll do one at a later date. But I think that is going to be our stream for today. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch everybody